Hey guys, my name is Mark from Jazz Guitar Lessons. If you're just starting out with jazz chords, I got you. In this video, we're going to look into the staple chords. There's only 8 of them, 4 here and 4 here. Grab a screenshot of this, or you can see the link in the description for the free download. It's only 2 pages, and what we're about to do is to embark on a journey where we'll go through each of these individual chords one by one on the instrument. So grab your guitar now, and then we'll put this to work in progressions. And also at the end, I will explain the why, like what's the reason I selected these chords and how far we can go, how far I went personally on my guitar journey, how far my students are going with this kind of stuff. So let's get going. Okay, our first order of business is to tackle the major chord. So here's a C6. This is the 7th fret. So note that your fret here is actually fret number 8, which is a C note played on the 6th string. And then we're going to strum the chord like so. So you have one non-played string here, and you have another one that's not played, so we're playing 4 strings. The trick is to get that 2nd finger in the way so that your 5th string is not ringing, and then pretty easily you get this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, and that's called a C6. There's going to be explanation later as to why we did not start with a C major 7. And now that you see this, ensure you get a good sound, and then you have a note that says alt here. This is not a C6 altered, not to confuse you, it's an alternative note. So what I will do is take out my pinky, the 4th finger, which is played here, and I will just simply remove it so I get this sound. So I get the C, the A, the D, and the G. Don't worry if you don't know the note names yet, it doesn't really matter for now. So you get this regular chord, and then its alternative. Alright, let's move on to the next chord. The next chord we're going to play is here, and we have the C note at the 3rd fret of the 5th string, which is here down below. So there's no headstock on the guitar here, maybe misleading, look it up. So you get a C, an E, a B, and a D, and it's called a C major 9. Be mindful with the fingering, of course, this is your 2nd finger root, and then pretty much the same way as we did up here with a C6, we're just going to take out the pinky and keep that alt note. So we wind up with a C, an E, an A, and a D, and this could be called a C6-9. That's the alt, and now that's the major 9th. Now, without wasting time, we're going to go directly to our major, friends. So the major chord is here. Remember, your C root is exactly still at the same place on your guitar, which is 8th fret 6th string, and we're going to play it with the 2nd finger. I highly encourage you to use the fingerings I'm showing in this video, which is, this is the 3rd finger, so your ring finger, that's just doing a partial bar. If it doesn't go, just give time to this first phalange, this first joint to really stretch out, and it will eventually come together. And that's our regular C minor 7 chord. You might have seen this in like pop and funk context where you play it like this as a bar, but I really advise that you do it this way for what's to come in the rest of the training materials. And now with our alternative chord, what we're going to do is completely let go of the root and play instead the top 4 strings like so. So the fingerings for this are not good on the sheet, so we'll bar my index on the 8th fret and then use the pinky or 3rd finger to play the D note on top, and the name for this is C minor 9. So either here, C minor 7, or C minor 9. Beautiful. Now, of course, we've noticed we've done the major chord up here and then below, so we're doing the minor chord up here and now the minor chord below. This can be quite a stretch. Remember, the C is still the root, and get the 3rd, so the E flat, the B flat, and the D. If you have trouble stretching out these 2 index fingers for that shape, what I recommend is you take that shape up. So you could start it on an F or a G and just get used to that space in between these index and 2nd fingers. And then that's going to be our C minor 9. So we have a cool at the top, C minor 7, C minor 9. Then we have a C minor 9 like this. And then with the alt, the alternate note, it's this one, it becomes a plain C minor 7. So C minor 9 to C minor 7. Perfect, good job. Now we're done the major and minor family. Let's go to our dominants. Again, guys, I'll ask you a quick favor. If you're liking this video so far and you find someone could be helpful using these chord shapes in a jazz context, please forward them this video, like and subscribe. This helps me tremendously in building an audience here on YouTube. So the C13 is our dominant chord. It's going to be played like this. It's the first chord we see that has an index with your root with your index. So you're playing that note here as your C, and then you go in a staircase fashion playing the dark dots. And the sound for this is a C13. Now, what is a C13? Actually, any chord with a letter and not a major and minor nomenclature is a dominant. For instance, when we played C major 9, it's a major chord, C minor 9, minor chord. This one is called a dominant 7. And the dominants really dominate in jazz and in blues music. And the alternative will be here with a lowered pinky, and we will call this one a C7 flat 13, and the regular one just a C13. Now, as we did with all other chords, we have a root on the 6th string. We're going to find our root on the 5th string for our next C dominant chord. So here's our C9. Plainly, it's this one, which is only one note away from our C minor 9, remember? And then this is a dominant, and then the one with the alternative note here is a C7 sharp 9. If you guys know Jimi Hendrix, there's Purple Haze, and they call this the Hendrix chord, which is played as an E at in the middle of the chorus of that song. So now C, C9, and then C7 sharp 9. So this is an unaltered basic plain vanilla dominant, and this is an altered interesting spicy dominant. So we are now done with the major, the minor, and the dominant chords for our staple chords. Let's move on to the weirdos. Alright, let's cover the weirdos in one go. So the other category, beyond major, minor, and dominant, what I would like to do is like cover the diminished and the minor 7 flat 5 and the other chords that don't really have a place. So my favorite example of usability on standards is this guy. So C minor 7 flat 5, so it's like a C minor 7, but I need to take that flat 5 and push it down 1 fret. It can be pretty squished if you have like small frets, so feel free to try this shape lower down to exercise the spacing between your fingers. And then there's no really alt note on this. The only thing I will tell you is that you can take that root note and play it here instead, because this is a C and this is a C, so you can do it this way. So replace and put the C note here and just scratch that one. It's also a C minor 7 flat 5 shape that's valid. And now in one go, I'm just going to scroll through this PDF with you and go to that shape, which is also a C minor 7 flat 5. So here, at the 3rd fret of the 5th string, so this is our low version. So if you guys have been playing any kind of like funk music or jazz, you know this is a C minor 7, so we take the 5th down a half step, and that's it. You can either bar it or you can finger it in the way I show it here with 4 fingers. That said, this is the end of going through our 8 staple chords. Alright, if you stuck around so far, great job. So we have our 8 staple chords. Notice we have our C root that is done on the 6th string here for these 4 chord families. There's way more chords than that, right? But this is a really good foundation. And then we have the same with the root on the 5th string. So notice we have root on 6th string and root on 5th string for only chord families. Now, the first thing I gotta tell you is, of course, you gotta take this to different keys. For instance, if you know that this is a C6, all you need to do to play say an A6 would be to play it here, right? Just to change the fret and keep the movable shape. Same thing with, say, a C minor 7. If I want to take it to a G minor 7, I will go down here with a G root. That's the first thing you got to do by knowing the note names of your E and A strings. Next up, what I recommend we do is we actually take a chord progression to do that on. So I'm not going to give too much of an explainer, but I'm going to rely only on these 8 shapes to play a very basic 1, 6, 2, 5 in the key of C major. I'm going to put the chord progression on the screen and off we go. So there's actually 2 ways in which we're going to play this. At first, we can start with a high C6. You're going to ask me, can I play C major 7? Yeah, you can play C major 7 if you know one. If it says C major 7 like this, triangle 7 major, you could do a C6 and it's alternate. And then we're going to do the A minor 9 up here. This is the R root and the D's here and the G's here. And then we're going to do the process one more time, another time. After 2 repeats, we're going to do C here, A, D, and G. And I'm just going to start the clock and comp through this with you, and I'll see you after. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. Now let's do the low version here. 3, 4. All right, that's it for this lesson. So congratulations if you stuck around and you're going to do these steps that I described in the videos. You can really start to master the very foundational building blocks. And now comes time for an explanation of how I like to do things, how I simplify things for myself, and how you can do it too as well, and how I teach this to my students. So the main reason we start with movable chord shapes like this, first, of course, is to avoid open strings. We're not going to do open C and open E and whatever, because we're playing jazz and we want movable chord shapes. And the consequence of this, of having movable shapes, is that we have a root that can be displaced, I mentioned this already, up or down the fretboard. So it's a C now, here could be a D, just move the whole shape. So physically, it's not more demanding to do it in any or all of the keys. It's just requiring a fast brain to transition to the appropriate key, right? So again, we have all of the roots in square, and then we have these 4, and then we have 4 more. So that's the first reason why we do it this way. Another reason why I like to do it this way, instead of being specific to, oh, you're learning a C7 sharp 9 flat 5, right? Instead of doing that, I like to synthesize in big families. And the big families that matter are really these 3 ones. We're going to exclude our weirdos for now. So it's major, minor, and dominant. With major, minor, and dominant chords, you can cover at least 90% of all chord progressions that are found in jazz, pop music, like jazz standards of olden times, and including bebop music, interestingly. So whether you want to play funk, blues, or jazz, you're all set. And I do this by summarizing to big families for the reason that it gets easier to expand from the basic families. For instance, we took a C minor 7 and we just did it this way. And then in the beginning of the video, I showed you, well, now if we do it this way, now it's called the C minor 9. So if you get a chart of music that has C minor on it, you're sort of free to choose that as a jazz comper. You're ad-libbing your comping as well if you're playing in a straight-ahead jazz fashion. And same would go with if you encounter like a C minor 6, or if you encounter a C minor 11, which I'm going to draw here, the 11th would be here, so you get this, this, and that. So what I like is that all these chords on the chart are actually expendable. Not expendable, but they can expansionize. That's not a word. But anyways, you catch my drift. What I mean is that we can really go much further with all these shapes as our foundational tool. So remember, you gotta keep that root on the 5th or 6th string, and those on this page, I didn't say it, but they're actually all drop 3 voicings for you, like theory, jazz guitar theory buffs. They're drop 3s, and those are could be thought of drop 2s as well, because there's not a string in between, but that would be debatable as well. Now I'll leave you with the main reason, number 1 reason I teach it this way, because these are found in lesson 1 of my, now I'll call this the Jazz Guitar Accelerator program, where I work with a small cohort of people, like bringing amazing results so they're playing really fast. By simplifying this, what we do is we lay the foundation, and I'll just invite you to go and study this on your own. On the D and G strings, so the middle strings of the guitar, we will wind up with our guide tones. So the guide tones, and here would be the 6th and the 3rd, not the 7th and 3rd. So 3rd and 7th are really important, and it's the case here for all the voicings. So what this does is it will afford us the opportunity to remove the bass note later on and just to play on the top strings. So remove that and just do your Pat Metheny, Wes Montgomery stuff of block chords on the top strings. And that without having to learn a bunch of inversions, a diminished passing tone, and Barry Harris 6th diminished. Like this, yeah, this is all fine, but this is a very practical way of getting into rootless voicings. Number 1. Number 2, since the 3rd and 7th are so conveniently located, we also use them to begin making the changes. So instead of making the changes from a chord scale like modal, Berkeley, learn the Dorian mode perspective, what we do is we do it in terms of a target note, and the 3rd is always our favorite target. So the 3rd is here in this case, and then the 3rd is here in this case, and the 3rd is here in this case, etc. And when we have that firmly in mind, we start from what I call my staples, then we build guide tones that are right inside, and then we make lines that target the notes. And then not only are we learning really, really basic jazz comping, and we can focus on making it feel good with a good timing, but at the same time, we are developing solo improv lines. All right, so that's it for this lesson. I hope you've enjoyed. Please see these resources in the description and the link below. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this video to anyone you think might like to start with jazz guitar. Again, my name is Mark from jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.